Hello and welcome to this video tech tip. I'm Scott Craner with Imaginet Technologies. In this session, we're going to look at how we can use property sets to associate custom user-defined attributes to Civil 3D objects. There are many ways in which this functionality can be helpful. We're going to demonstrate how it can be used to enhance documentation and tracking of some typical utility data. This data could include ownership information, condition status, data source, construction dates, inspection dates, or almost anything that could assist in the design, construction, maintenance, or operation of a utility. First, we'll look at defining property sets. In this drawing, we have some typical utilities: a storm sewer network, a sanitary sewer network, and a water network. In this example, we're going to create attributes to track some information for sewer and water systems. We're going to store them in two property set definitions: sewer data and water data. To define a property set, select the Manage tab on the ribbon. Then, select Define Property Sets. In the Style Manager, ensure that Property Set Definitions is highlighted. Right-click and select New. You can enter the name of the property set definition here or on the General tab. You can also enter a description here. We will define the properties in the Definition tab. There are several definition types that we can choose by selecting these icons. Some obtain data from the physical characteristics of objects, such as their volume. Others utilize formulas, location information, classification definitions, material property definitions, and several other types of information. We'll be using the Add Manual Property definition to attach user-defined information to our utilities. Select this top icon to enter a new manual property definition. In the dialog box, enter a name. Under the name, you see a Start With selection. In this case, since we have no previous definitions, we only have the default to select. I'll show you how that can be used in the next definition. Once we've entered it, we can change the description by selecting the ellipses. I'm going to add utility to this to make it a little clearer. The type of information we're going to use is text, but I'll click this to show you the other choices. We're going to choose the source of these in the drawing. I'll show you that later, but we are going to put a default in here. And I'm going to copy that default since it's a little long. Choosing good defaults will help minimize data entry, as after you've applied these attributes to the objects, it will minimize going in and editing things. So choosing items that are going to be representative of the data and need as little change as possible is a good idea. Next, we'll add another definition. Notice I didn't put a space in this name between data and source. If I did, you would get a warning message. Let me show you that. It's warning me that you can't use this definition for tag blocks because spaces are not allowed in attributes. And then it gives you a chance to use it anyway. As a matter of practice, I don't put spaces in these definitions, but you can choose to add them if you want. You just can't use them for block attributes. I'm going to click No and remove the space. Since we have a previous definition, the Start With tab becomes available to us. So we can select that previous definition, and I'll show you that it's going to copy all that information up here into this new definition. In this case, it's not going to be very helpful because they're not very similar. but it's a good way to show you how it can be helpful. Let me expand this so that you can see everything a little more clearly. I'm going to change the description. In this case, the description is a little long, so I'm going to copy that in. Source of utility, size type, and location data. That looks good. Again, I'm going to stick with text, but I'm going to change the city sewers and drains to City Sewer Atlas. And then I'm going to add one more definition for condition. I'm going to use the default since this is not going to be very similar to my previous definitions. I'm going to edit the description, and again I'm going to copy it. Utility condition from A to F. That is going to be my grading for the condition of utilities. We're going to stick with text, skip source, and for default, I'm going to use my lowest grade of condition, F. That way, I know that if there's any value above F entered in, that somebody has come in here and changed it, since F is the default. So F would mean either that it truly got an F rating or it simply hasn't been adjusted. Now that the General tab is completed and the Definition tab is completed, the next thing is to go to the Applies To tab and select the different objects that you want this to apply to. Since this is sewer data, we're going to pass a lot of these object types all the way to pipes and structures. With those selected, we can hit apply. Our sewer data property set definition is now complete. I'm going to go ahead and add a water property set definition. Select new. Again, I could have entered the name on the General tab. I can also enter a description here. Next, I'll go to the Definition tab. Again, we're going to start with owner. We're going to stick with the text type. And for the owner, we're going to copy that into the default. The owner is going to be City Division of Water. Next, we're going to again add a data source definition. Again, no spaces. And again, I'm going to copy the description. Source of utility, size, type, and location data. Text is good. We're skipping source. And I'm going to copy in some text for the default. In this case, I'm I'm copying in construction plan number and I'm leaving the number blank. That allows for somebody to enter a plan number here in the event that water data would be being added from construction plan sets, which is a fairly common practice. And last, I'm going to add a definition for pressure range. And again, I'm going to remove the space. And I'm going to copy in the description. Water pressure range, high, medium, or low. That looks good. And then for the default, low. Again, with the general and definition tabs complete, I need to go to the Applies To tab, and select what objects I want this to apply to. In this case, my model has fittings and pipes, pressure pipes. With those selected, I can click Apply. Now that our property set definitions are in place, we can assign properties to utilities in the drawing. To assign our user-defined attributes to our utilities, we need to use the AutoCAD property palette. Note that this is not one of the Civil 3D property dialog boxes, but the AutoCAD property palette. On the Extended Data tab, select an object. I'm going to select the sanitary sewer structure. Note that there is no user-defined data here, but in the lower left corner is an Add Property Sets icon. Click it, and in the dialog box that appears, note that the sewer data property set definition that we assigned to this structure appears. Ensure that it is checked. Click OK. The properties and the defaults are added. To edit, simply select, change the value, and it updates. I'm going to deselect and show that when I select a pipe and a structure, right-click, select Similar to select the entire network, I can add the property set information to the entire sewer network. Note that the condition varies. That is because I've edited this first structure and it's retained that edit. Note that the pipe and structure that I added later have the defaults since they've not been edited. If I want to add this information to a network globally, I can also use the Prospector tab of Toolspace. I can go into Pipe Networks, and select the storm sewer, and add sewer data to all elements in the network. Similarly, I can expand the pressure networks, select the water network, and add the water data to the entire network. Removing these associations from the utilities is a very similar workflow. From an individual object, I can use the AutoCAD property palette and the extended data tab to remove property sets. Ensure that the property set definition is checked and click OK. And it removes the property definitions and defaults from the object. Note that if I select the pipe and structure, right-click and select Similar to select the entire sanitary sewer network, that I cannot deselect it since this one structure has already had the information removed. That's a little different than when I applied it. I could apply it to the whole network even though I had already applied some of that information to one structure. You can't do that in reverse. You need to select only those objects that still have the associated information to remove the property set information. Removing this information globally is very similar. In the Prospector tab, I can select the storm sewer network and remove all the sewer data. I can also select the water network and remove all the water data. A useful command in managing your assignment of user-defined properties to utilities is the ACPSD Auto Attach command. To demonstrate it, let me first open the Autodesk Property Palette and then go to the Extended Data tab and show you that in this drawing, my sanitary sewer network water system and storm sewer system all have no user-defined data assigned to them. Now let me go to the command line and type in AEC PSD, and that's enough to bring up the command. Select it. Its default is off. I'm going to turn it on. Now that it's on, let me select one of these elements. The user-defined data is on. It has applied all of the definitions that are currently available in this drawing as assigned. Let me go into the Manage tab, define property sets, and go into the sewer data. And just to demonstrate how it will maintain this, let me go to the pipe object. Let me turn that off. Let's remove that applied to assignment and then hit OK. Now let's select a pipe. In the storm sewer system, the data is off, but notice the structures are still assigned user-defined data. And then the sanitary sewer network, the pipe data is removed, but the structure data still has user-defined attributes. If I return, and reselect the pipe in the Applied To tab, click OK. All of the pipe information is reassigned. There are times when you may want to leave the AEC PSD Auto Attach command set to off and manage the assignment of user-defined attributes to utilities in a more granular fashion. In these instances, you may want to use the property set clean command. Let me show you how that works. First, let me open the AutoCAD property palette, the extended data tab, and show you that in this drawing I have property set data assigned to the sanitary sewer network, the water system, and the storm sewer network. Let me go down to the command line and show you that my AEC PSD Auto Attach command is set to off. Escape out of that. Let me go to the Manage, Define Property Sets, and let's go to the Water Data Property Set Definition and say we want to remove the assignment of user definitions to pressure pipes. There we go. I've removed it here in the Applies To tab. I click OK. But when I come down here and select a pressure pipe, the data is still there. That's because my AEC PSD Auto Attach command has been turned off. It doesn't automatically update. No problem. If I go down to the command line and enter the command property set clean, it asks me for the name of the property set definition I want to clean up. By clean up, what it's going to do is look at any information that's been detached, like the pressure pipe data, and when it sees that, it's going to clean that out. So I'm going to type in water data and hit return. Now when I go to my pipes, the data has been removed. Note that when I select my fittings, it's still attached. This workflow has been performed in Civil 3D 2020, but works in earlier versions in essentially the same way. I hope you find this information helpful. Thank you for watching.